During a public town hall in Flint, Michigan on April 20th, 6 individuals who were upset about the fact that they had been drinking poisoned drinking water voiced their concerns about what the city had done and the ramifications of what they had done. Now, interestingly enough, 6 of them got arrested because of voicing their concerns, maybe a little too loudly, but apparently there are all sorts of irregularities, lack of transparency, and also an unusual degree of secrecy in this story. Now, Jordan Cheriton, one of our reporters, has been on this. He was actually at the town hall and he saw these people get arrested for essentially practicing their First Amendment rights. But I'm gonna give you some more details. Now, the Flint 6 were arrested on April 20th at a mayoral town hall held at House of Prayer Missionary Baptist Church after police officials warned attendees that they'd be arrested if they didn't observe church rules of decorum. Okay, first, let me just stop right there. It's just interesting that they decide to do this at a church, which is, again, it's a religious place, and then they tell people, well, you gotta follow the church's rules. Well, if you're not religious, why do you have to follow the church's rules, and why did you pick a religious place to hold this town hall? Anyway.
No, not anyway. That's super, super important. So I just wanna emphasize that, guys. And if you hold it at a church, you cannot actually apply church rules according to the law in Michigan, which makes a lot of sense. If you hold a town hall laws apply, town hall rules apply.
Right.
So whatever you can do normally at a town hall, you should be able to do at a town hall in a church. It's not on the citizens, who, by the way, have been poisoned. I mean, there's lead in their water. People have died in Flint, Michigan. They're worried about their kids, etc. You can't tell them, well, I held it in a church, so you got to follow Jesus Christ's rules. I held it in a mosque, so you got to follow Muhammad's rules. I held it in a prison, so you got to follow prison rules. No, that's not how it works. There's town hall rules. So all of these arrests were illegal in the first place.
Right.
They're false arrests.
So, and the story just keeps getting worse. So when the town hall had begun, the police commissioner, Tim Johnson, said the following: please don't be in here trying to disrupt this meeting, because if you do, I'm going to escort you out and I'm going to take you to the back door and then you're going to jail. I'm not going to play with nobody tonight. Now, just to give you a sense, of what the scene looked like, here is footage that Jordan Cheriton obtained. You can kind of see how they're not doing anything at all. They're just voicing their concerns and they get arrested as a result of that. Take a look.
Bullshit. My money goes to this church. Wait a minute. What are you waiting? Yes, get off my butt. Get off my butt. You're already getting this shit. Don't worry about it. Get hell no! Hey, bro! Easy with her! Where they at? No, he got step back, Tony. I'm helping you. They were conveniently close. Thank you. That's my wife. Don't even happen to her.
So can I just say, on tape, you just saw clearly there that she had not done anything physical. She yelled something, and that officer didn't like what she yelled. I don't know if it's because he was offended because it was inside a church, or he's just a particularly sensitive dude. But that is not illegal. It's just not remotely illegal to yell something. And they're already escorting her out, and then he made it physical. Yeah. He then brings her over, arrests her, puts her head down, etc. So all these arrests are clearly illegal. And then in one of the arrests, they claimed assaulting a police officer. We have the tapes. I mean, you go on, watch it on youtube.com/TYTpolitics. On none of the tapes are any of the cops ever touched.
So let me finish the details real quick and then we can all jump in. So they were put in jail overnight, okay? And there was never an arraignment. There was never a bail hearing set, okay? They were released the next day, but ever since then, they've heard nothing. They don't know where the charges are filed. Is it through the city or is it through the state? What's going on? Charges range from being a disorderly person to interfering with police to the most serious charge of assault on a police officer, which is a felony. Again, no one touched a police officer. The only time there was physical contact was when it was initiated by the cops. No one has been arraigned, no notification regarding charges at city or state level, no one assaulted an officer, no hearing for bail. These are all strange inconsistencies that are occurring, and so the ACLU has gotten involved, and right now they're representing 5 of the 6 individuals who are trying to get some answers about this.
I mean, obviously it would seem they don't want to file charges because
right.
there's no case there and it comes back to haunt them. So, I mean, I try to avoid hyperbole here, but those people were kidnapped.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were scooped up and thrown in prison with no charges for a night, and they were released the next day when they were like, we can't hold you here any longer, and your families will be angry, and then it'll be a bigger story, so we'll just let you go, and now we'll file no paperwork and we won't proceed.
So the assault on a police officer is not anywhere on tape. And if they thought that someone really assaulted a police officer, do you think they let him out the next day without an arraignment, without any talk of bail? You know that didn't happen, right? Otherwise, the cops would have been super mad, and they believe me, they would have immediately gone through the proceedings, and they haven't. So just let him go. Just give him clarity, and you could save face. We don't care. Like, I don't want this hanging over these people's heads in the first place. You know why they were angry? Because, like I said, there's lead in the water, and they're worried that their kids and themselves and their families are getting poisoned by it. That's why they had the town hall in the first place. How angry would you be, right? Just let him go. Let him go.
I think it should go way further than just letting the people go, right? I think that there needs to be some sort of consequence for those who arrested these individuals. We're supposed to have constitutional rights, absolutely, right? And why is it that whenever we have conversations about the Constitution, it's always about one specific, constitutional right, the Second Amendment. But when it comes to the First Amendment, by the way, where are all those First Amendment warriors right now, right? The ones that keep going to liberal colleges just to provoke, or I should say evoke, negative reactions from students. Where are they right now? Why aren't they upset that these protesters, or they're not even protesters, these residents of Flint, Michigan, were voicing their concerns at a town hall? That's the whole point of a town hall. Did they expect them to go over there and play hopscotch together?
They're called agitators, but what country are we in? Like my stepfather's from Cuba, and this sounds like stories that he would tell me about what happened in Cuba when they would speak up for their rights, and they are just asking for what is supposed to be water. I mean, it's supposed to be their right. But I want to know who's behind the law enforcement, because I always think that I see law enforcement sometimes as robots that are doing the work of the dirty and the evil, and I just think about this whole infection that's going on as a result of this administration, where people really, law enforcement, people in government really are seeing us as peons and really are starting to take action on what they believe and how they believe they should treat the average person. And you white people out there who think that this is not about you, that white lady just got her head shoved down by a cop. This is not about race, it's about money. Those of us that don't have, we are really being bullied and taken down this path of, it's getting scary at this point. It really is.
Yeah, I've always, you fire that cop. That guy can't be a police officer. You put your hand on her back, move her along a little quicker if you feel the need to touch her. I would basically, look, you're taking a job and we give you the right to have a gun and use the gun. You are duty bound to be restrained. Absolutely. You have to. Yeah, and it's tough, and you can blow off steam afterwards. Go to a boxing class, right? But you can't grab that woman like that. You cannot arrest somebody for yelling something that irritated you. It probably was designed. Whatever she yelled was probably designed to provoke that cop. Yeah. Your job is to not be provoked, so you don't get to be a police officer. Have a different job.
Yeah, wait, look, let's just be clear. As Ida pointed out, the cops later called them agitators. Yeah. They are citizens. They didn't show up to protest. They showed up to voice their opinion at a town hall. It's not just what you do at a town hall, it's what you do in America. If we can't do that in America, come and voice our opinion to our government about something as fundamental as the water we drink, then what is America? I mean, if you get arrested for that, then that's not the America that I know that our Constitution demands of us. So, look, these cops, I don't know that they know what kind of trouble they're getting themselves into, and the prosecutors and all that stuff. In another one of the videos that we've shown on a previous show, one of the cops says right before he arrests someone, "Oh, you're disrespecting the church." Yeah. Disrespecting the church is not a crime. You cannot arrest somebody for that.
Also, that goes to your first point, which is the most obvious point of all, which is, hey man, the church is just where you had the meeting. Once you have the town hall there, it's not a church, it's a building that hosts the meeting. We shouldn't even have to explain this to anybody. Yeah. And disrespecting it, you're allowed to disrespect the church, right? we got a whole president disrespects an entire religion.
Yeah.
Politically, some may think that that's useful, but you're allowed to disrespect a church. You can do it all you want, but they didn't. That's a building. It is a building with 4 walls. That is it. That is it. The church was kind enough to let the city use it for an important thing, a town hall in the middle of what is unquestionably the greatest crisis the city of Flint has ever experienced.
Are these people sick too? Aren't they?
Yeah,
Yes,
a
these
lot
people-
of them have been sick as a result of the drinking water. And by the way,
All the 6 who were arrested have been affected by the water in
right.
some way.
right, skin conditions, all sorts of illnesses as a result of that water. And by the way, this is not something that's isolated in Flint. Jordan has done a lot of reporting on lead in the drinking water. Reuters has done a lot of extensive research into drinking water throughout the country. There are so many places throughout the US that are dealing with, poison drinking water. And so if you think that this is a story that doesn't touch you and it's not that big of a deal, you're wrong. It touches all of us in some way or the other.
And in hour 1, we did the last story we did about Jeff Sessions authorizing US attorneys across the country to crack down on drugs, right?
Yeah.
And make sure we restore order and send drug abusers to prison where they belong. It just strikes me that I got it. They're gonna argue that it's a state issue, but man, what I would love to see is federal prosecutors making sure that water didn't have lead in it around the country. That'd be a great, useful way for prosecutors to spend their time and energy to make sure kids didn't drink poison water, as opposed to sending people to prison for 3 to 6 years for having a bag of marijuana.
And people have asked me, why don't you tell jokes about this stuff? Why are you so serious and heavy-handed? Well, I mean, like this abuse of power, if you haven't been seeing what's going on, even comedians are being held to, Stephen Colbert is under investigation for a monologue, not even us. We are also being affected. We're being policed and monitored at our workplace. So you want us to tap dance for you up here when we're talking about these issues? We can't even do that anymore. It's gotten to the point where it's ridiculous. The abuse of power is trickling down to the smaller places, and now everybody feels like they can really.
Well, I mean, look, to be fair, Ida, Colbert was talking about human genitals, right?
Right.
It's something that our president would never do. So we need to investigate.
Yeah, and by the way, that's your reporter, Jordan Chariton. If he wasn't there to cover it, God knows what happened to these 6 folks, okay? So if the folks that run Flint, Michigan had any sense at all, they'd tell those folks that they're not getting charged and they're free to go. They're obviously not in prison anymore, but they did stay in jail overnight.
Yeah, for nothing. They were
for nothing.
They were just taken captive overnight.
You got to tell them there is no case against them, and you got to end this nonsense before it gets worse. Not for them, but for you guys, because what you did there was not legal or constitutional. Our reporter Jordan Chariton broke the Donna Brazil story. He was right. She just apologized for it. Help us get more reporters like that. You're the one responsible for that. Thank you, and let's do more right now at tytnetwork.com/go.